Hey, hello. Hi.
Hello.
I
Hello.
decided to
Hi.
strike. Hi, you all look so lovely. All right, let me just change my view here. My laptop is down here, but the camera is here. So I'm just trying something a little different today. Wonderful. I'm so used to standing up in class regularly and walking around and kind of navigating with everybody. So it's definitely a little unusual to, in the past, I had taught sitting down and energetically. It just doesn't work for me. But it's so great to see you all here. Wonderful, wonderful. And I'm just going to give a couple minutes to everybody. I know everyone's figuring out their seats, and I know some people are hopping onto the link. Hi, Miss Betty Ann. Hey, Peter. Hello, Miss Kelly.
Hi.
You?
Yes, let out a good yawn. How are you all feeling this week?
Good.
Good.
Good. Like, okay. All right. I like that. Hi. So. You can unmute yourself. We still have a couple of minutes, so if you wish to unmute and maybe express a couple of things, you're free to do that. Hi, guys. So I know I've met a couple of you, and I know I saw some of you during class last week. For those of you who don't know, my name is Siobhan, very old Irish name, very proud of it, proud to be tied to that mysticism. And in that way, you know, there's been a lot of mysticism from both sides of my family. So I think it's interesting now that I see myself kind of looking towards those stories for a sense of understanding, a sense of self during this time. And I think we're all kind of shifting in that understanding. We're all shifting in our self-identity. And I know that a lot of people are considering change. I don't like to say back to normal when I think in terms, or when I talk in terms of what happens after this. I don't necessarily look forward to a back to normal. I offer that normal was kind of what got us here, sans, you know, a catastrophic event happening, you know, but the handling of the situation, that was normal. So how we all handled our personal journey, you know, we handled it with what was normal. So I offer to each of you, looking forward to change, looking forward to an alternative in a lot of the way that we conduct our lives and the way that the world is conducted around us. So I invite you to think of change. So if at any point during the practice today, you feel some discomfort or you feel a little dis-ease, I talk about relationships a lot within the body, the inner dialogue that kind of comes up as we start to stretch into places that are a little uncomfortable or uneasy or unsure. I invite you to come back to the idea of change. What can change, or what has changed? Because we forget that, you know, yes, we're being present and we're being in the moment, but when we start to self-criticize and battle with some of our inner, you know, barriers, we think, well, it is the way it is. Like when we're so tied to the past, we just think everything as related to the past is permanent, and it's nothing can come from it, nothing can be resolved. So if you're having a conversation with your shoulder opener that is a little kind of struggling and a little bit obsessive and maybe a little critical, invite some change. Invite maybe some change in phraseology. Invite yourself to question what has changed, because we've all had to go through so much just to come here. So again, change. If we are opening our hips and having a conversation with some ancestor or somebody who's not with us right now, or if we're thinking about the thing that happened 3 years ago, again, invite change. Invite the possibility of change. What can change? What has changed? And you can still be present in that way. It's an additional lens onto being present and to being in the body. Did anyone have any other questions before I move forward? Alrighty. So if you like, you can choose to put yourself on mute or not. If you have any background noise, definitely would recommend mute. I know I had some background noise last week, which is a lot of fun. I live in a full house, so. Otherwise, hello, Mr. Dennis. Good to see you. Otherwise, everybody just come to a seat that brings them joy. I really like this concept of finding a seat that brings us joy, finding a seat that makes us comfy, that makes us feel well adjusted. I'm going to reach for a couple of options here. So if you are not one who has a ton of blocks at home, that is totally fine. You're not excluded from this practice. Pillows do just the same amount of work. Big pillows, long pillows, all sorts, blankets as well. So if you need a moment to pull all those resources together, go for it. And I'm just going to start with some opening breathing. So do what you need to. It's so wonderful to see you all. I have to kind of look down and look to my side a little bit, but it's so wonderful to see everybody's here. Class is here. So as you find yourself adjusted in your seat, perhaps the seat is lifted and the knees are supported with a pillow or block on either side. Coming into our centered breath, coming into dynamic breathing. So something I've talked about for several weeks is the dynamic breath. So as we inhale, first feel the belly, only the belly with the breath. Feel the belly rise and the belly retract a little as you exhale. So as you inhale, it's expanding out. As you exhale, it's pulling back in. And if you wish to lie down too, to make this a little bit more obvious or comfortable, you're free to do so. So inhale only in the belly. We're just gravitating towards a full sensory experience. We're allowing the vagus nerve to be stimulated so that it can relax. You can experience the rest and digest process. The vagus nerve, in terms of cabling, the wiring is running right through the stomach, right through the solar plexus. So allow the breath to be gentle with yourself as you inhale, expanding the breath. And as you exhale, releasing the breath slowly, letting go, and then returning, sipping the air like through a straw, perhaps just with your nose, if you can imagine that. A couple more rounds in the belly. Inhale and exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Very nice. One more round. Inhale here. Exhale, sigh if you wish. Let the breath out through the mouth. And with this, the breath doesn't change, it's yours. The only place that changes its location. So thinking now in terms of the ribs, thinking across the center line body, we're going to continue our breath expanding and being mindful of the expansion through the ribs, through the sides body. And as you exhale, the ribs slide down, kind of like wings. They meet each other again. As you inhale, they expand, they start to pull away from each other, making room for everybody. Exhale, release them down. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale the ribs. Exhale. A couple more rounds just like this. In our ribs, we are tied to grief as well as joy. These are the muscles that help process, the organs, that help process those emotions. And it ties into the heart. Our heart chakra deals with emotions of compassion or passionate emotions. So empathy, compassion, love, hate, apathy. Let's say apathy twice. Oops. All of those really heartfelt emotions. As you inhale, just draw in from the space around you, draw in from the universe, and exhale to release, plugging in through the body. Feel the plug in through the sits bones, back into the earth. Inhale, drawing in. Exhale, plugging in, feeling your support. One more round. Inhale. And exhale, sigh. Moving up, thinking in terms of heart center, so the front of the chest across the collarbones. When I say heart shining forward, it's often referring to the top of the chest, heart center. Moving the breath here in this upper chamber, we inhale. And exhale, sigh. Perhaps the chest moves, even the spine adjusts as well. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Perhaps placing hand on heart center to keep you centered, to keep you listening. Feeling the integrity of the spine. As the chest lifts and shines forward with the inhale. And rests back, reclines with the exhale. A few more rounds. You're doing a wonderful job. There is nothing more that you need to do here other than breathe. If that's the only thing you've done today, you've achieved so much. It'll take time to see it, but it's there. Inhale. Exhale, release. Maybe bowing. One more inhale. And exhale, sigh. Well done. So in terms of dynamic breathing, it helps to kind of separate the chambers, the belly, the ribs, chest, heart center. In a full dynamic breath, you're moving all of these components, right? So practice with me as you inhale. First, the belly rises, then the ribs open, then the chest lifts. As you exhale, the belly sleeps, the ribs fold their wings, the chest rests. Belly, ribs, chest. Exhale, belly, ribs, chest. Inhale, belly, ribs, chest. Exhale, belly, ribs, and chest. Let's try 5 more rounds like this, and take your time. I'll give you plenty of time, so if you're really like counting 6 seconds with each, go for it. In fact, I'll give you guys about a minute to explore this, so perhaps it's more than 5 breaths for you, so I'll give you a minute to just explore this space, explore the internal fire in the body, explore the water element within the body. What is shifting? What is changing here? Keeping in mind, perhaps, that you're drawing in and affirming life with the inhale. And you are releasing what is stale, what is no longer needed, what cannot teach you. As you exhale, and you're plugging into your support, grounding down with the exhale. Be gentle with yourself, sipping each inhale and also gently releasing each exhale with the same grace, the same balance. Another 30 seconds left here. And just enjoy. And wherever you are, find one more round. And as you close on the exhale, slowly open the eyes, perhaps just taking in the ground in front of you at first. And then slowly come to meet the room, meet the camera, give a smile if you're able. All right, so good to see you all. Welcome back. It was a wonderful job. You guys did fabulously. I know breathing is very hard, but it's funny. It only becomes hard when we stop thinking about it. That being said, I really want to work into the spine today. I felt called to kind of talk about sciatic nerve pain and also a tad bit of reflexology, which I tapped into last week. So I think, with that spirit, it's never a conversation that needs to stop. It's so fascinating and kind of new. It's a way to kind of help self-remedy. And it's not only in the feet. I will talk about the face a little today as well. So if you wish, at any point in time, if you have a question, you can, find a little comment in there. That's no problem at all. And if you don't wish to participate in some of the reflexology aspects, that's fine if it's too distracting. There's no judgment. There's nothing for me to be like, oh, but I want. It's not what I want. It's just a practice. That being said, find yourselves lying down. We're going to prepare the body for supine twist. So once you've gotten to a point where you can rest to lie down, you want to bring the heels towards the seat, bend the knees, and just stay there for a moment. Wonderful. And if you're able, you can bring the knees slightly to the chest. Doesn't have to be a strong pull. The arms can hang long, just holding onto the kneecaps so that the knees float freely. Oh. And just enjoy the breaths here, right, in stillness. A little different, a little self-soothing as well. Now, if you wish at this point, you can start to move on the hips, maybe just preparing them for some motion. So maybe an inch to the right and an inch to the left, right? Nothing really wild and wide. You can do it quickly or slowly. You can move in circles, thinking in just an inch. Return to center. Take an inhale here. And as you exhale, bring the knees towards the right side body, begin your twist. You can keep the right arm extended to the right side, the left arm extended to the left side, and you can turn your nose towards your left palm. The knees are still bent, shifted over to the right side body. If you're having some trouble connecting the knees to the ground, if there's space underneath the right knee, you can slide a friend, a block or pillow underneath both knees. If it's simply that the knees won't meet each other, place that object between the knees so they have something to rest on and they have a friend to greet. Part of eliminating that space will allow the body to fully rest and to fully express in the shape. And continue finding that dynamic breath, finding that breath that starts in the belly and moves upwards. And as it releases, it again starts at the belly and releases upwards. Sipping the air, again, you don't have to force a breath. If it comes to be that you need to release the yawn, that's fine. Let the yawn pass, fully express it, and then come back to this dynamic breathing. Finding that the shoulders are releasing and rolling away, whether they meet the floor or not. They're simply falling away from the center line. We're twisting in the body, and therefore we're kind of slowing down that completion of circulation from the top half of the body into the bottom half, which isn't inherently dangerous. It's just placing a little pressure. In fact, the organs in the intestines are getting a bit of a massage. They're able to release any leftover bile or just unneeded fluid to let that pass. Like kind of bringing out a washcloth or cloth of some kind. Enjoying a couple more breaths here. Finding one more inhale. Hold at the top. Exhale, sigh. Your next inhale, you can reach for both knees. And exhale, begin to roll back onto the back. No need for waving the knees here unless there is some pain that is starting to become agitated again. Wave the knees to allow a bit of recalibration. But on your next exhale, simply fold to the left side. And whatever arm position you took going right, take left. So if you preferred cactus arms because it allows the shoulders to open up more clearly, that's fine. Arms were spread wide, that also works. Again, coming back to that dynamic breath. Gentle with your inhales. Feel each component as it fills with air. And gently release them. Once they've been affirmed, once you've recognized and acknowledged them with the inhale, release them with the exhale. And then again, we are creating pressure into the left side body. It's believed that when I'm talking of each side as the yin and the yang side, the yin side, which is our left, perceived softer, more receptive side. Your feelings about twists or really any pose that switches sides changes to each side of the body, suggesting that the left is more receptive, the left has a calmer internal tone to it. For some that may be true, for some it's the opposite. Perhaps the right side causes more relaxation, the left side brings up a lot of stuff. We have a little less than a minute here. I'm really enjoying the breath. In terms of dealing with sciatic pain, oftentimes this is a pain that agitates people when they try to sit up or when they try to move forward and walk. It may prevent people from getting out of bed first thing in the morning. So know that this is always there. This is a great way to start your morning before becoming mobile. It's a great way to kind of reintroduce you back to the world. Starting at the middle of the spine, which tends to be the safest, it compensates for a lot less. The lower back, you hear so many issues about the neck, you hear so many things about, sans a herniation. The middle of the back tends to be the safest. So this is our way of starting the day with a relationship, a dialogue with ourselves and the world and our back, saying, okay, we're taking things nice and easy. We're communicating to the nerves around us that there is no threat, that the pain that, and we understand that the pain that is created is simply your way of trying to protect us, to keep us from causing more strain and stress. But by starting our day like this, we no longer need to worry about that. You can let go and you can be functional once more. Gently sipping an inhale here. Exhale, come to sigh. Inhale, reach for the knees. Exhale to center. Very good. And if you wish, you can hold on to the knees. Give some gratitude through the hands with your knees. Feel that gratitude like a warmth in the palm and spread that into the knees or the shins. And as you lower your feet gently, allow yourself to again move that gratitude towards the hips, thanking the hips. And hold in any way or in any place that needs some gratitude. Once the knees have met the floor, open the knees into a supine butterfly, and you can support the knees after you've opened. So start with the butterfly, and anywhere that there's space underneath the knees, support again with a block or a pillow or bolster. If you have a blanket that you can roll up like a very skinny log, you can string that, thread that underneath both knees and find support there. Just some options, whatever works. Unless you're quite comfortable with the knees hanging, it can grow tiresome, and when the muscles are tired of lengthening, they try to protect us by stressing and pulling us back together. So by supporting the knees, the muscles don't need to be worried. The muscles are supported, the nerves are supported, and the body won't fight you. So we've moved downwards a bit from the middle of the spine, right into the hips, right into where the sciatic nerves really start to really start to sweat us, It's in that ball and hip socket, that ball and hip joint. We have these nerve endings running like, I don't know how to describe it, like if you had the roots, the spines of these nerves running alongside the back, and then like fingers, they kind of spread around into the glutes and into the back of the hip. So in putting pressure on them in this way, we're kind of pinching them a little, that's what tends to cause the pain, is that pinching from this external rotation. We're getting a little too close. And in the opposite way, people's sciatic nerves feel like they're being pulled on too tightly if they begin to lunge forward, and the internal rotation pulls at the nerve. And this sciatic pain can run deep up into the back. It can run from the bottom of the glute, over the joint, through the sacrum, and right up into the back, almost at the ribs. The generalized muscle pain can kind of activate that upper middle back pain. That nerve runs quite deep, connects to that central line. So by gently externally rotating and supporting this external rotation, we are once again having a conversation with the back, with the hips, with the nerve. It's all right. There's nothing to run from. My goal isn't to hurt you. My goal isn't to hurt myself. We are simply exploring new possibilities. I understand that you are doing everything you can to protect me, and I feel you. I know who you are. I also know what I am doing. I am here to listen and honor you as well. When we open up into our hips, sometimes we experience emotions that are tied to our ancient history. That concept I mentioned of the thing that happened 3 years ago. The last word we said to somebody who we weren't sure if we were going to see them again. The choice that we made that led us down a career path or down a life path. The lessons that we inherit from the people before us. These are deeply tied into the hips, the root and sacral chakra. Both have to do with identity. The root, our identity as inherited to us, our tribalism, our ancestors. The sacral, our identity tied to money, sex, and power. These are all starting to intertwine in the hips. Whatever comes forward throughout the practice and now, acknowledge it first. And when it comes to acceptance, accept it as a friend to a table, like a coffee date. Something, it's not threatening, it's not here to strike down upon you, but it's here. You can always visit it here. Feel its presence. Let it drive the emotions. Let that emotion embody you. Feel that emotion. Feel the sensation, the physical locking in the body. Forgive whatever had happened to cause its presence. Even if that forgiveness is a half forgive. So, acknowledging that some things are unforgivable. But if we can utter the tiniest bit of grace to this feeling, allow that. Inhale gently here. Exhale, sigh. Inhale for one more embrace in this experience we have found. And finally, we release that experience with the exhale. Release the journey. We're moving on, and we can come back, but not now. And then we do it again throughout the body. Taking the hands to the upper thighs or knees, whichever works, and close the knees like a book, please. Only so that you protect the integrity of the hips. The muscles are lengthened now, may not have the momentum to bring you back together. So please respect that and use the hands as your guide. You can release the legs slowly in front of you, one by one. Really take your time. Take a moment here. I'm going to allow for a mini Shavasana just to kind of integrate that spinal approach. We haven't gone the full way yet. We do need to move upwards. But for now, just let that synthesize in the body. Let that, all those lower relationships from the navel down, let those integrate themselves. Make peace with that experience. Like, yes, I had it. Okay, that was a thing. That was a different thing. That was an uncomfortable thing. That was fun, and now I have to move on. Whatever peace you need to make. Sweeping an inhale. Exhale, release the mouth. Sigh. One more, sweep the inhale with vigor. Release, exhale, sigh. Wonderful. Rolling on to whichever side makes the most sense for a fetal position. So you can bring the knees closer, roll onto the side body. We're preparing for some forward fold, so just keep that in mind. Exhale here. Use the hands to embrace the earth, pressing you away from it slightly, and come to a hero seat if you're able. If you bring some support with you along the way, a block underneath the seat is always helpful. Wouldn't recommend third height, it's a little off balance. A block underneath the seat is fine to prop you up here. And once you're in heroes, we'll start first by curling the toes under. So if you have a block under the seat, you can remove it just for this because you're going to use it to brace. Pillows also give you the same deal. So as you lift the seat, brace in front of you with the block. Curl the toes under the heels, then slowly begin to release the hips back down onto the heels. You're going to apply some pressure now to the balls of the feet. So the points of your toes should be facing your knees. They should be moving towards your knees. You don't have to sit all the way back. You have the block or some other tool to brace you here. You may not find a flat seat back. You're just applying some light pressure through the toes, through the metatarsals. Our feet take a lot of hits, a lot of hits. Even in this restful state now, they're kind of starting to soften on us. So when we start to run around and get back out there, they're going to feel a little, it's going to be abrasive. So just always keep in mind the integrity of the feet. The feet do so much for us. Breathe into the feet. Feel the opening of the arch of the foot, not only through the central line of the foot, but through the sides of the feet as well. Thank every toe on your foot, no matter how ugly the nail is, or stinky they are, or unpainted they are, or scaly the heel. Thank the foot. One more, inhale. Exhale, sigh. Brace forward. Inhale to gently lift yourself off the heels. Release back down on the heels into hero seat. It's fun. So we're going to move into child's pose to help with our transition into the next shape. You can keep your knees close together for child's pose. I recommend moving them the width of the mat or a width that makes sense for you. So not too wide. This isn't frog. The width of the mat, so just outside the hips. Just preparing. You guys know what child's pose is. It's no mystery to you. Removing any blocks from in front of you so you can slowly exhale and walk your way down, keeping the arms stretched forward, palms down, bowing. Now, if the hips seem to lift off the heels, making sure that the forehead makes contact with the mat first to observe that. If the hips do lift to allow the head to meet the earth, support underneath the hips. Find, again, a blanket. Roll something up, place it under the seat, and close the space. I think I have. And I would recommend something softer here. A block really won't, in my experience, hasn't given the help that one might think in this particular shape. So a blanket like this can be rolled, place it right at the ankles. And that will complete your seat. So as long as your forehead is touching the ground, because that will keep the integrity of your neck and its alignment. So whatever you need to add, go for it. Yeah, Kelly, get it. If that means you end up lifting the seat just a little bit higher too, that's fine. There's really nothing wrong with that. We're really thinking about how sacred the neck is. We need our necks really bad. And I know what it's like to have a lot of front side tissue, right? To have to do the teeter-totter in child's pose, like, oh, okay, now I'm on my head. Oh, now I exhaled and I'm on my seat. So like no teeter-tottering, we're trying to find stillness. We won't stay here for very long either. So enjoy every breath if possible. This may not be a favorite pose for some, and I know that's hard to imagine. If you're a vinyasa practitioner, this is what we look forward to, but in yin, we do all of that stuff. It's not the same. Really feel as you inhale the belly pressing into the thighs, perhaps. Feeling the sensation of the third eye chakra, the space between the brows, as it's connecting to the earth, and the root connecting to whatever support or the heels, whatever is making its way to you. Our foreheads and the acupressure point between the eyebrows, right at the start of the top of the nose, all of that space and that flat side of the forehead allows us to control or balance issues of insomnia. So it's very common for people to feel sleepy in child's pose. Why? Because that pressure point is being activated. We're going to be sliding, shifting slightly forward into puppy pose. So please listen carefully before you make any movements, and I will repeat myself. You will need the hips to lift to do this, and I'll cue you when you guys can start moving, so just listen first. The hips will need to rise. As the hips rise, lift the head to look forward, preparing for the chin to be placed on the mat. As the hips rise, the chest will start to slide forward, pressing onto the earth, arms still reaching above us and overhead. If you have a lot of neck pain, you do not need to slide into this. You can let me know. Otherwise, if you feel comfortable, go for it. So first, lift the hips. This is your chance, yogis. So if you feel comfortable, lift the hips slightly. Pull the head up to look forward. The chin will be placed on the mat, eyes kept forward. The hips moving upward will help the chest slide across the mat. So we're going to get a little carpet burn on our hearts today. As you lift the hips, they can stop as they've met an apex over the knees. So they don't need to pull too far forward, just as long as your chest meets the earth, and the arms still reach forward. So move those fingers forward to help crawl and walk. Now lifting the hips just up on that edge right before you break the pose can help anchor you. It's a balance though, so move 1 millimeter at a time to find it. If you need to dial it back, that's fine. The more dialed back you are, you're also bringing yourself out. So the hips ideally would be over the knees. And just breathe. I know this can be intimidating for a lot of folks who are like, all right, now we have to be here for 20 minutes. It's not unusual to want to break out. Trust that the floor is just the floor and it's supporting you, right? And trust that the hips are anchoring you. They're not going to fall over and crack over you. Everything is actually being held in perfect place. You know, we don't think so hard when the lower back has to do the same thing in camel, so, or in floor bow. You know, we don't worry so hard about the rest of the back, but our necks seem to cause the most anxiety. And here we are lying on our throats, right? We're finally getting that equalizing stretch from being so tied into our devices. Chin is on the mat. The eyes can relax. Relax the brow. You may even feel the armpits begin to relax, as if somebody was taking their thumbs into your shoulder blades and pressing down, but it's all you. You have complete control over that investment. So relax through the palms. Let the armpits have a moment here to open up, and you're getting that external and upward rotation into the shoulder. You are trusting your heart into the earth, into the floor. It's okay to be untrusting of this. Again, this is one of those heart emotions that comes up with the heart chakra, excuse me. Trust and mistrust are all located here. So it's understood that trust might be a little hard to come by right now. But you have complete control over this, right? And isn't that all we want when we want trust? Is we trust something when we know that it's not going to change on us. We trust our surroundings when we think we have control over them. And we're learning a lot about what we do and don't have control over. This is your circle of control, and this is your circle of trust. It starts with you. Give that to yourself. Just another minute, I promise. And I will take you out of here just as safely as I brought you into it. For any reason, any trust, related issues, come forward. Acknowledge their presence here. Acknowledge how it's been brought forward, illuminated here. Explore your compassion here. And again, I invite you to think of change. Now that you've found yourself in this seemingly impossible place, what can change? What is now possible? Sipping your inhale, allowing the throat chakra to also be released into the mat as well. That self-expression, that creativity. Exhale, sigh. Inhale through the nose one more time. Exhale. Listen closely before you move. Slide the right palm underneath the right shoulder. Slide the left palm underneath the left shoulder. You can wiggle the elbows here just to check in. They should be pointing towards the heels. And fire up those triceps a little bit because they're going to carry you out of here. They've not been activated, so they're safe to do so. Bring some energy into the palms like you would for chaturanga and press up gently, releasing the neck. Wonderful. To tabletop. You don't have to move anywhere else. Come to tabletop. And very gently express some cat-cows and see what might have changed. Slowly too, because we had a very deep back bend, so it's going to feel a little woozy coming back into an arch. So find some cat-cow breath if you're able. Take your time. I know that sometimes out of this shape, my cat can be so emptying and such a relief to fully exude and release that staleness. Get it out. Again, we're being gentle with ourselves. This isn't a demand for you to find the longest, greatest cat-cow you've ever found in your whole life. Just one that works for right now. And we'll find 3 more rounds of this in your time. You can Pause on one a little longer if you'd like. So many ways. One more round. And exhale to center, finding your gaze between the palms. Taking it nice and easy. We're going to work on the hip flexors. Can't show you the full length of my body, but we're working into the hip flexors. It's called Sleeping Swan in Yin, something I'll explain later. Start to move the left knee towards the left wrist. Slide it forward. Move the left ankle. It can be somewhere between the right hip and the right wrist. So many times I've been told by other teachers in my early yoga career that the shin has to be parallel. It has to be parallel for pigeon, and it doesn't have to be. So please be gentle and honor your body. The foot can be somewhere between right hip and right wrist, whatever works. Find yourself here and take a moment to just check your hips. Check that the balance between both hips is even. It might not be right away, but just do like a light, like, okay, we're gonna go with this. And as you come down, you can start to fold, walk the hands forward. You can fold with the hands overhead or crossed. You can hug the knee even. That's such a sweet embrace to find for yourself, hugging the left knee here. You can support the left glute with a block or pillow to give it a little lift, especially if you're feeling some circulatory things come up, some high tension in the side and the back of the thigh right now. Support that left glute. Give it something really sturdy to be on. And that will balance your hips so that you're not injuring the other side as well or compensating on the other side. And one more thing to check, since I can't always see it clearly here, just make sure that the left hip isn't stepping forward of the right hip. So if you need to adjust slightly, tick the hips like a clock, maybe to find that evenness in the left and right hip. Again, this is another point at which people can start to create sciatic nerve pain. You may not feel it now, but in practicing or moving in a way that is harming you slowly over time, you build up a problem. I've suffered from that too. I've created an injury from yoga because of my practice, either misinformation or just not being mindful. So we don't want to create a problem when there is none. We're slowly reintroducing this movement so that our bodies can stay nimble and the nerves and the muscles aren't fighting us the entire time. So when we keep the hips even, the right hip isn't trailing far behind us, the left hip isn't forward and hiked up in the air, way, way above. Evenness. In this way, so as the hip, the left hip ball is turning, this can also be an agitation point for people already suffering with sciatic nerve pain. Again, proliferated by an unevenness in the hips. But in the way that we've moved so far, we've introduced these things slowly to the body. We've allowed the muscles to lengthen and relax. They signal to the nerves that, okay, I'm not needed here. I can take a vacation. My job is done. The nerves then are left to think, all right, well, either I have to find a reason to panic, or maybe the truth is we're all safe here. Maybe that's the truth. What is the truth? Feeling that extension into the right hip flexor, right across the front of the right upper thigh, down into the knee even, foot trailing behind you. A few more breaths here. If you have it in your practice to come up into a mermaid, I will allow that for the closing 30 seconds. Otherwise, don't go somewhere you don't need to be. If you're having a profound experience right here, stay with it. If you need more out of this, you can find your mermaid. That would be coming up. Pigeon legs or sleeping swan legs are still intact, but the right knee is bent, the foot is coming to right hand. Wherever you're at, stay still, keep breathing. The breath will help with stillness, and if the breath changes, that means the position needs to change. Honoring whatever has come forward for you in this shape, thanking it for being present with you through this experience. Whether it was unwelcome or not, it did not abandon you, so that's one more friend, I guess. Take an inhale, maybe one more embrace of the knee if you're folded down in sleeping swan. Exhale, sigh. Using the hands underneath the shoulders the same way we did before. Slowly walk oneself up, coming onto both hands. Slowly relieving the left knee from its position. You can relieve any support from behind you. Come back into tabletop. You can move around. I like to call it an elephant walk, where you kind of like sway back and forth. You can do some circles. You can do like the cowabunga, little Elvis, whatever works for you. Very nice. On your next exhale, come to center. Inhale here. And begin to slide the right knee towards right wrist. You all know how it goes. Right ankle, somewhere between left wrist and left hip. Whatever is going to be comfortable for you for a length of time. You guys all look wonderful. See your heads popping up, so I know you're still with us. And whenever you're ready, you can begin to walk yourself down. Once you've found that positioning, do that self-check of the evenness of the hips. Continue to check yourself as you come down. Continue to, as you start to set in. Is my hip hiked up? Are they uneven? Is my right hip pulling farther forward than my left hip? You know, it's only the foot that trails behind, not the whole leg. P.S. All of these concepts can be applied to any practice you have. I have come from an experience where having very single-minded teachers and a single-minded practice and strict rules. You know, I understand that experience of like, well, what can I do? What am I allowed to do? You're allowed to use props in any practice that you take. You're allowed to check in with yourself and honor your truth. In yin, we deactivate the muscles, gain some mobility. I haven't figured out a way to promise that it will make wrinkles disappear, so I'm working on that, guys. It's the next phase of my yin takeover, is to show it how wrinkles disappear. Jokes aside, yin really is all about letting what's hidden, or what sits in the back of the mind, come forward, be illuminated. We allow them to visit us front and center, not ignored by the busyness of our lives, not ignored by, well, I have all of these other things in my life so well organized and together, I don't need to deal with this right now. Whatever it is, it's going to be there until you address it enough and make peace with it. There's nothing wrong, though, with the emotions of joyousness and feeling like showing off, nor is anything wrong with grief and feeling misaligned, nothing wrong with shame, nothing wrong with pride, nothing wrong with love and trust. We have a full spectrum of emotions, each of us. So feeling them all can be an okay experience. We just have to know how to handle ourselves. And in a world where we're told how to handle ourselves, if you look like this, fix it with that. If you think like this, do it this way, and you'll be more successful. You'll be a part of something. You won't stand out. It is high time that we find our truth, find our own reasons for being, our own motivations, and handle ourselves, starting with grace. You guys are doing a wonderful job. And if you need to make an adjustment, find more support, you're allowed to, whatever helps maintain stillness for you. The upper back finally relax. Less than a minute left here. Breathe. You can continue embracing the knee. If you found mermaid on the opposite side and you want to do it here, you may, whatever will maintain stillness. Gentle with your breath, still that dynamic breathing carries us through the practice. Coming into a final embrace here, final reflection here. Inhale, exhale, sigh. Maybe hugging the knee even. One more, inhale, and exhale, sigh. Placing the palms under the shoulders. Slowly lift the head. Walk the knee back. Take your time. Sway the hips. Take a few breaths. You're doing a wonderful job. I'll invite you to find a forward-facing Shavasana for another minute. So slowly begin to lower the body down, lying flat, belly down onto the mat. Again, some of the reflexology concepts I mentioned before will work in here. So taking the hands with an interlaced grip behind the head. And if you need to if you need to support underneath the shins or ankles to allow the lower back to settle in, you may. Taking the thumbs as they point down the neck. Open them and begin to move up the column of the neck from the top of the shoulders to the base of the skull. We're going to just continue moving in this way. So the hands are interlaced behind the head. We need to move the hands back a little. We're taking the thumbs and pressing either side of the spinal column and the neck, from the top of the shoulders to the base of the spine. Feeling our bellies press into the earth as we inhale. One more round of breath here. Preparing for a quick transition, remove the hands from behind the neck, place them under the shoulders, push back into a child's pose. Bracing the hands once more behind the head, sliding the thumbs down only to the base of the skull and hold there. Apply pressure as much as possible and just hold the thumbs at the base of the skull. And keep breathing. By pressing into this space, we are releasing chi, as understood by reflexology, trapped in the head to return back down to the lower body once we release. So stiffness in the neck is released here, as well as head colds, nasal inflammation, hypertension. We're also pushing into the bladder meridian, which aids with headaches and can help with a sore throat and some lower back issues. Find 2 more rounds of breath here. In my own practice, it takes about 3 minutes at least for me to feel a shift. So take that forward with you in your own practice. Final inhale. And final exhale, sigh. Walk the hands, push the chest and torso upwards. Very nice. If you wish, you can, I don't know how some people are more comfortable, they can switch onto their side to come to their back. You can lie down flat and roll over, whichever way works for you. Very nice. So we're gonna close in this shape, but I'm gonna work into the reflexology of the face a little bit more before we come down. So taking the fingertips and loosening them, so almost kind of like monkey. I don't know why monkey hands works, but that loose kind of arch in the fingers, and start to, one hand at a time, scrape across the forehead. So you're not digging your nails in, just the fingertips are raking from one side of the forehead to the other. Or you can just start from the middle line if that is a little more sensible for you. Start from the center line of the forehead and rake the fingers out towards the side. Again, tapping into the sensory that will help recreate some sleepiness here. If we're suffering from insomnia or have suffered from insomnia, help relieve that a little bit because our pinkies might be pressing just over that middle space between the brow. One more pass. Inhale here and exhale. Now there's different ways to access this. For me, it's easiest to place the thumbs on my temples and interlace the fingers at can be your brow, but for me, I reach up to my hairline. So pressing the thumbs here, bracing them with the fingertips crossed, and moving the thumbs up and down the sides of the temples. So it can be just over the brow to just below the eye itself. naturally we've learned how to relieve ourselves of headaches by placing pressure on the temple. So we kind of tend to hold rather than massage. So if you wish to hold at a specific spot, you can start now and just stay there. Take one more inhale here. Exhale, release. You can take the pointer finger or both pointer and second finger, align them with the bridge of your nose and start to slowly slide them to the outside of the nostrils. So both fingertips should be just above, just at where you feel the cheekbone lift a little bit, or maybe there's like an indentation. Taking both fingers and begin to press into the face here. Again, that fingers, they should be just outside of the nostril. Holding here will release inflammation, maybe brought on by allergies, any sinus tension, head cold related. You can flush or drain the nasal cavity through these points outside the nostril. Typically it's done with one finger on each point. Two is fine though if it helps. And one more breath here. Inhale. Exhale, sigh. Finally, using the hand of your choice, it does not have to be both hands. Although, if you wish, you can utilize the second hand. So choose your first hand, and you're gonna press with one finger or two into the soft skin underneath your lips. So you might actually be pressing into your gum through the finger. You might feel the gums begin to start through the lip rather. Your first hand will start here and hold here. This is the point in which all of our yin meridians meet. So we're helping balance the reproductive system, We're also helping balance or relieve issues of constipation. Sometimes literally, sometimes otherwise. If you wish, you can take the second hand and with one finger, perhaps the side of the finger helps, find the bottom of the center of the nose, so right at the top of your Cupid's bow. Start to shift and press up into that ridge of the bone and hold there. I would recommend releasing the first hand, releasing the yin energy. For now, we are tapping into our yang energy. All of the meridian points of the yang meet here. They spread elsewhere, but they all have a common meeting point here. You start to feel that your nostrils are perhaps being manipulated a bit. This helps with our expression, with our mental health or any mental health disorder that we're feeling. This has been used to treat fainting or unconsciousness, so we're trying to work into our unconsciousness here, our unconscious mind. It also helps with shock. This is the yang point. One more inhale here. Exhale, sigh. Sigh, let both hands relax onto the sides body. or Shavasana. And let everything from our practice just synthesize. Enjoy this time, yogis. In time, I shall wake you. Don't be alarmed by the silence. Invite it. Bringing your awareness back into your breath, for it is the first tool we have to awaken the body. Sweep the inhale. Exhale, sigh. Inhale. And exhale. Sigh if you'd like. Bring awareness to the hands before you wiggle the fingers. Bring awareness into the arch of the foot before you wiggle the toes. Everything is here. Everything we need is intact. You can bring a hand over the heart center or towards the torso, the navel. You can bring hands to prayer if you wish, whatever makes sense for you. Thank you all for letting me lead you in this practice and trusting something a little different than what I usually speak about, for trusting in your environment, trusting that the practice is worthy of coming back to, that we learn from it and we hear and find our truth within it. By allowing me to teach, it is you who has truly taught me. Each of you is your own guru. Please never, ever forget that. So thank you for this opportunity, for allowing me to see that, and for that. And to you, I each bow. Namaste. Thank you all so, so much. If you have any questions, I'll be on for a couple more minutes. If anyone wants to take a picture, I don't know.
I have a question.
Oh,
Instead of
yeah.
working on solving wrinkles, can you work on making hair grow back?
I know. I gotta. Thanks, Betty Ann. I know. I'm working on all of the tricks to kind of get people to be like, Yin, the thing that also does the wrinkles in the hair. Working on it for sure. It's just one of those marketing tools that I haven't mastered yet. But you know, I'm glad that people who do come back to it, it helps them make sense of a lot of things. For me, coming into Yin made sense of my Yan practice, if you will, and made sense of my very Yan life. And without it, I don't think I'd be reminded of my completeness. So we're all complete. If you're a fan of RuPaul, you know, he says, we're born naked, the rest is drag. So in that way, Yin helps me kind of tap into my drag. So it was such an honor to be here with all of you tonight. I'll take a quick, like just a screenshot for a picture. You know what? I'll do it with my phone. Do it with my phone because I can't get the screenshot to go anywhere. All right, everybody ready? Wrinkles gone, smiles on. 1, 2, and Wonderful. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate that.
Siobhan, I have a
Hi.
question.
Sure. Questions. Let's do it.
When you have the fingers on, I was laying down and I'm not quite sure. The first one, was it like lower and then the second one was higher?
So first one was lower lip, feeling the gum line.
Okay.
This is the first one. This is the yin.
Okay.
It's wrong to say the yin. We have meridian lines throughout the body. If you're familiar with that, traditional Chinese medicine, right? And they all kind of have like points. Like if you ever see a map of it, it's a line with like little dots, right? And all of the dots for the yin meridians meet here. I don't think anywhere else. I'm pretty sure not anywhere else, but they do meet here. And the same for yang or yang. They all meet right here.
Okay, because I was laying down. I only heard you say gum, so I did it here first.
That's okay.
And so I did it on the top twice.
That's okay. Listen, you guys have that to just try and kind of mess with. And in your free time, like I said, I'll drive sometimes. And if in the winter time, if I'm ever blocked, I'll just press on the outside of the nostrils for about 3 minutes to start. 3 minutes is when I start to feel a change. For as long as I can manage driving around.
Really good.
Yeah. It's nice. And it's, yeah, you can really feel it by Miss Betty Ann. So enjoy. You can always find me. You can contact Liz, contact Love Integration if you have any questions about any of the classes, not just my own. So please feel free to reach out. We're all here for you. We have so much, that knowledge didn't go away just because contact did, but we all love you dearly. And we thank you so much. Thank you for continuing to support us.
Have a nice weekend.
Thank you so much. Enjoy your weekend as well, everybody.
Bye. Have a great weekend.
You too. Bye.